approximate or round off to 3 significant figures. We're rounding off all these questions to 3 significant figures. Now, 3 significant figures means starting from the left, the first real number you see from 1 to 9, you start counting. You understand this later when we come to the lower questions. So 3 significant figure in this case starts from 4. So we are doing 1, 2, 3. That means 3 significant figures end at 6. So we have to round off this 7 and this 4. And what we consider if we're adding 1 to this 6 before we round off is the number behind it, which is 7. If it's 5 and above, we have to add 1 to this 6. But in this case, since it's not decimal, when we are rounding it off and it's a whole number, we don't throw away this 7 and this 4. We turn them to zeros. So we have the answer to the first question as 4, 5, 7, 0, 0. Because of this 7, we have to add 1 to this 6, then turn this into 0, 0. So to 3 significant figures, we have the answer to the first question as 45,700. For the second question, to 3 significant figure, we have the third significant figure as 6, counting from 4. 1, 2, 3. So we're stopping at this. And same as the first one, since you have 7 next, for us to take this 7 and this 4 away, we'll have to add 1 to this 6. So it becomes 7. And in this case, since the other numbers are behind this decimal, these zeros don't matter, except it's in between somewhere like this. You don't throw away the 0. There's a number behind it. If there's a number behind it, you don't throw away the 0. But since there's no other normal digits from 1 above behind the 0, and we're not told to approximate to either 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places, we throw the zeros away. So we have our answer as 45.7. You don't need to add the zeros, because this question is just like saying approximate to 1 decimal place. This question to 3 significant figure also means approximate to 1 decimal place. The third question, approximating to 3 significant figure, means you are not counting from this 0. You are counting from the first number that is higher than 0, which is 7. Note, you don't count from the zeros. You count 1, 2, 3. So that means we have to stop at 4. And we have to take off this 9. And since it is greater than 4, we have to add 1 to this before we throw it off. And since it's behind the decimal, we can throw the 0 off. So we have our answer as 0.072. Rather than 4 now, we'll be having 5. Then the 9 goes off. You don't need to add 0. Since it's behind the decimal, the 0 goes off. The next question is 0.07034. Now in this question, like said in the previous question, you start counting your 3 significant figure from the first number greater than 0, which is 7. So you count 1, 2, 3. Here you have to count the 0. Provided you've counted the first number that is greater than 0. That means you have to stop at this 3. Then the number behind it determines if we're adding 1 to it or not. And since it's less than 5, we're not adding 1 to it. So our answer is equals to 0.0703. The 4 goes away without adding anything to the 3. And the last approximation or round off method is rounding off based on place values. And as this question says, approximate or round off to the nearest tens and the nearest tenth. You know your place value, you know your 100, your 100th, your tenth, your tens, your units, and so on. So let's first round off to the nearest tens. Tens means after your unit, which is 5, next is tens. After the tens, you have 100. So this is where we've asked us to stop. That's to the nearest tens. So to the nearest tens, we have to consider just the number behind it, which is 5. Now that means this 5 is going off and every other digit behind it. So we're taking off this 5 and all these other digits. All we need to consider is just this 5. Since it's not 4 or lower, we are taking off this 5, we are adding 1 to this 4. So the answer to this question to the nearest tens is 250. We are adding 1 to this, and all the digits behind the decimal will be zeros, and we don't need to write them because it's not necessary. So we take them off. So the nearest tens is 250. Now the second question says to the nearest tenth. Rounding off 245.4934 to the nearest tenth, which is this. After the unit, you have tenth on our place value. You know, this is tenth, hundredth, thousandth, 10,000th. There's a th behind them. So this is the nearest tenth. We're stopping here, and all what we need to put into consideration is the digit behind it, which is this number 9. and since it's greater than 4, we have to add 1 to it before taking it and other digits behind it off. So we have our answer to be 245.5. So the answer to the approximation of this digit to the nearest tenth is 245.5. It's like approximating it to one decimal place.